So earlier we had gone through the basic configuration. Also, we had gone through the routing of on ASA firewall. Also, we have gone through like ACL. We had implemented ACL. I am sure that you all are very good in implementing ACL, but we'll just cover the ACL part also. Okay, so ACL is like wherever we will have firewall. Firewall's main purpose is to block the traffic, right? So we will be using access list for blocking the firewall. The firewall rules, basically. That is what we call it as access list. Okay. And each of the rule we call it as access entry, like a ACE actually. Okay. So access list is just a condition to categorize the packets. And once the categorization is done, we will either allow it or deny it. Okay. So these firewall rules like the ACLs can be implemented on router, switch, firewall interface, right? And it is basically implemented either inbound or outbound. Okay, so always implemented in one particular direction. Okay, either inbound or outbound. Any queries still now? This one? Sheila, any queries? You are clear?
None from my end.
Okay, Elisa, thank you. Sheila, what about you? Your voice is not audible. Are you on your laptop or mobile?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
We are not able to hear you actually. Very, very people.
And now?
Yes, now it is clear. Is it clear?
Yeah, that's it clear.
Okay, good. If we say like we have a firewall, right? The traffic will be coming from an interface, right? And after that, egress will be happening from another interface. So always we implement the access list either inbound, like the traffic is coming from one direction and going to other direction. So we will be implementing the like the access list either inbound or outbound direction. There will be a direction that we have to implement the traffic ACH. Okay. Next one is related to uh, ACL specific actually. So you know what is the difference between standard access list, extended access list, and named access list?
Yes.
In standard access list, we either block it using source or destination, right? So basically, it is done. We'll block the entire packet with the IP. I just mentioned the source and destination. We'll try to block the entire packet. In standard access list, we are using numbers from 1 to 99 and 1300 to 199. So if you see any access list which has only source and destination, right, you can understand that that is a standard access list. Other way to confirm it is just we can check the number actually. So if the numbers are between like 1 to 99 or 1300 to 199, it is standard access list. Okay. Extended access list is what we are using in our like most of the network devices. Standard access list is not at all supported also actually nowadays now not at all supported as well. So basically it is the extended accesses that we have, and in extended access list we can with the firewall rules we can filter L3 based on L3 and L4 actually. So when we say L3, what do we mean by L3, Alyssa? With what we can block with on L3 actually?
And actually, there is a routing in
Correct.
the
With
traffic.
IP address. L3 means IP address. L4, what is the information that we have in L4 that we will use to block it? Sheila?
I think that the.
What is the information that we use in L4?
I think that is the source and destination part, and that's it.
Correct, correct. So like TCP, UDP, or in TCP, UDP itself, which port we need to block, right? So that all we can use. We have to use extended access list. So most of the firewall only support extended access list. Standard access lists are not supported as much actually. And we use this extended access list with name actually, with rather than giving numbers, right? Remembering numbers are a little bit hard actually. So we use the named access list. We give the name to the access, extended access list. That is called named access list. Then we have time-based access list. So time-based access list were also used earlier actually. Nowadays it is not required to use time-based access list. But earlier we like if you want to use, say we want to have the users connected to VPN only during daytime. Okay, the users should not connect to VPN in weekend. So for those purposes, we will use time-based access. Okay, nowadays it is not used much. So are we clear on this part? Next is object group actually. So object group earlier when we had in PIX and like we have to create lot of like rules actually. So object group is there. It is the way basically to reduce the number of rules, to organize it, to consolidate the firewall rules actually. Okay, so uh, you might have seen that I always advise to use object group. Like no, never we should use directly host in the firewall rules. We have to use object group because that is scalable. Now tomorrow, if you want to add something, we can just add the IP address on the object group. So and again, one more thing is it will reduce the number of rules. Because if you go to old firewalls, right, you will see 2000 lines of just access list actually. Okay, so object group will reduce the number of access lists tremendously. We have to use object group, and I believe that we are all using object group. If you have seen our standard access list, right, we have a lot of object groups, right? You are all aware of object groups, right? Any doubts in that?
None.
We have the same in Palo Alto, like any all the firewalls will have, it will be different name, like they will be calling it as address group. Okay, IP address and address group, service and service group. Same thing we will be like in ASA we call it as object group. Okay, so object group can be either like it can be inside an object group we can define a group object like another object. Okay, we can just add in that another object in that object group. Okay, the in the object group itself, what all things we can add? We can add an IP address, we can add a host, and we can add other objects also. Okay, like host, subnet, range. Okay, so these will be one object, only one. When we say object network means it will be only one. Okay, it will not have multiple what do you say, multiple entries. Okay, whereas object group will have multiple entries, whereas object will have only one entry. You understood the difference between object group and object?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The first type of group actually network object. So we in network object itself we can either have a network object in like three things that we can have. One is net IP net mask like a subnet. We can have a host entry. We can have another object. Okay, that is a single entry. And we can just call it here. Or we can have another network object group itself. Okay, like we create say production 1, production 2, or accounts facility and security, right? Development, like we create different object group and then we call this object group into one single object group named like a site specific. Say if it is for Boise, we say Boise inside subnet, and we can call all the other object groups using group object. Okay, so that is for this one. Okay, this part is clear. This part is clear.
Yes, boss.
Next one is related to protocol. Like we can define it as TCP, UDP, right? We can define it as like we will definitely we have like a we have access list for AD. Okay, so if you go through the AD access list, you will come to know that it is a service object, right? It defines services. We just have like rather than giving each and different lines for each of the services, we create an object group for services, right? And we call it in the rule, right? If you don't remember like this one, this is the object group for. Where is the object group for AD? One second. Yeah. So if you see the object group for AD, right? We are saying it as TCP, and then we call different types of objects like ports in that, right? This part is clear.
Yes.
Then we have a separate ICMP also. For ICMP itself, we have a separate one. So if you go here in each of the firewall, you will have a separate the object group for ICMP, right? And we are allowing only these actually. The ICMP is a big protocol stack, so we don't have to allow entire thing. We just want to allow ping, traceroute. Okay, so what all things are required for ping and traceroute, we have allowed. Is that part clear? These are the main things for ACL actually. I just wanted to go through ACL. We have already implemented ACL. Do you want to have a practical like I think you are all good on ACL part, right?
On my part, yeah. Well,
Okay. So next is like a best practices in implementing ACL. Okay. We had a separate session dedicated for this, if you remember, for a Palo Alto firewall, right? So whenever you are implementing ACL, you have to always think of the best practices that we have to like take care. Okay. So first one that I like we have to understand is the all the ACLs are passed from top down. Okay, the first rule will be like checked first. That condition will be checked first, and then if it matches the condition, it will be allowed. If it does not match, if there is a deny for the first condition itself, it will get denied, right? So if you see the deny statement, where will we give the deny statement? We'll give it in the top, right? All the suspicious traffic has to be dropped. So that rule will be given in the top actually. So more specific rules have to be always given in the top. Okay, that is the first rule actually. Next one is apply the uh, access list inbound for all the interfaces. So as we mentioned, the access lists are implemented using access group, right? We had gone through last time when we implemented like routing protocols. We had first of all implemented access list and then just binded the access list to an access group, right? And implemented that access list inbound to the outside interface. Do you remember?
yeah.
Let's check if the configuration is still there. 1 second. Access group. Okay, so first of all, we'll create the access list. We'll bind the access list to an access group. And what we are implementing to the interface, are we implementing the access list? We are implementing the access group actually, right? So we will use the command access group to implement that access list to the interface, right? And it is always given in the in direction. Okay, that is because of the packet flow. Like we had gone through the packet flow in the first session. if you remember. Okay, so when the packet is ingressing to the interface, at that time itself, it will check the ACL. Okay, it will not wait for the packet to parse what we say through the, first of all, it will come to the ingress, then it will check if there is a connection, right? And if there is a connection, it will go to the, where it will go? It will go to the, directly it will go to the next step, right? It is like a fast connection. You remember? Right?
Yes, Santosh.
So likewise, actually, if we are, so it will first of all it will come to the ingress interface, and it will check if there is a existing connection. If there is existing connection, then it will not check for ACL, right? It will directly go to the next step, right? It will go to the like first of all it will go to the, I believe if there is a firepower, it will go to that firepower IDS, right? If not, it will basically, IDS means inspection. If not, it will go to the NAT, and then it will go to the egress interface, and then it will go through the egress interface. So if we are implementing it outbound, the traffic has to flow till the egress interface, right? Basically, when the rule is implemented, like when this traffic is checked. Okay, so always it is recommended to implement it inbound. Okay, this part is clear.
Clear.
Yes.
Okay. Next one is name the access list. We can give it any name. Okay. But if you see all our access list, we have named it after the interface, right? Outside access in. It means that it is implemented to outside interface in the in direction. Okay. Same thing we have to, like, we have to make it meaningful. We just don't, just if I am implementing, just don't make it Santosh access, right? Nothing like that. Or if LX is implementing, let's implement it as LX access. Okay. So we have to always name it with the interface, like whatever interface we are going to implement. And we have to, all in that name, we have to also add the direction. Okay. So we use a standard convention like outside access in or core access in for implementing ACLs. Okay. That is a recommended practice. Next one is remarks. Like if you see our a standard access list, we are using remarks, right? It is not, but it is recommended to always use remarks actually. Okay. I think it was there actually. 1 second, let me check. So if you see here, right? Always we have access remarks. This part is okay. This is for the document.
Yes.
Understood, Santosh.
Next one is we have to use object group. See, object group, as we mentioned, right? It reduces the number of access entries actually. So we have firewall rules. It reduces the number of firewall rules drastically. Okay, or else we would have to give each line by line actually. Okay, so it reduces the number of lines drastically. So when we like if you see in Linux, like basically earlier we had open source firewalls. So open source firewalls like when in 2002 like we had, now also it is there actually, OpenVPN. If you search OpenVPN, right, we don't need a firewall to form a VPN. So we can just install OpenVPN and we can form a VPN between two devices. Okay, so with open source and all, we will have to add entry for each and every IP address. Okay, with object group, we we have like a not only Cisco, but all the firewalls are using this object group to reduce the number of access list. Okay, and we have to use access object groups in our access list. This part is clear.
It is clear.
And last one is we have to always use specific access list. Like if somebody is asking for an access from a source to destination, we have to check with them. What is the port that is they require? What is the purpose of it? Right? So because we have to be more specific when we are implementing the access. You are responsible for this firewall. You are responsible for the security of this network. So whenever you are implementing any access, you have to be as specific as possible. Okay. Security is utmost concern. So we have to implement the access list as specific as possible, in the sense we have to get the port and we have to open only the port that is required for that particular application or that particular function to work. Okay, if they have anything else, we will have to get another ticket. We will have to open RFC. We'll have to script the changes and get approval, right? And then we have to implement it. So a access list always has to be specific. Okay, we should not never implement IP to IP open access. Okay, this is already we had discussed multiple times. So all this part are clear.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Yes, boss.
Now we will move to the NAT actually. So NAT is network address translation. Okay, it you know that, right? For accessing internet, mostly like majority of times, NAT is used for internal users to access internet. Is that right or wrong? Suppose you are at home, have your full family is using internet. That your home router also is right?
Correct.
So mainly it is used for like access of internet. But what is happening in NAT? Okay, NAT is basically one-to-one IP address translation or many-to-one IP address translation. Okay, so that is the primary thing in NAT. Okay, in NAT, network address translation, either one-to-one IP address translation is happening or many-to-one IP address. IP addresses are being translated from source to like a when suppose an internal IP address 10.10.10.10 is trying to access say public DNS server 8.8.8. So at that time, the internal IP address is first of all mapped to a public IP address that has been provided by our service provider, right? And it will be mapped to that IP, and after that only it will hit the public DNS server. Okay, so and once it comes back, it will again hit the router, and which there will be an XLATE table, a NAT table, and it will have that table will be having the internal IP and the public IP. So that it will come to know. Okay, so like if you want to draw it, like let me just take it on the screen. Okay, so this is internal users. This internet. Okay, and this is our firewall. So what is happening here is when the user is trying to connect, and one user is there actually. If we say one particular user, for example, we can say okay, and that user IP address is 10.10.10.10. Okay, now he is trying to access 8.8.8. 8.8. Okay. So what is happening here? First of all, it will come to the firewall, and firewall has both the it has the routes for internal, it has the routes for 8.8.8. Okay. So the service provider will provide us an IP address, say public IP address. Okay. 100.100.100. That is routable on internet. Okay. And that is configured on our internet interface. So firewall already has our what is it is having both the internal LAN subnet in the routing table as well as outside default route also. So when the traffic is coming, if there is no NAT, it will traffic will directly go to this particular host in internet, but the return traffic will not come. Do you agree? If the access lists are allowed. Yeah. So what we have to do here is we have to do the NATing. So in the sense, service provider will itself not pass the traffic if it is not from public IP. Okay, so there itself it will get blocked, but if at all it is allowed, it will reach here, and the return traffic will not come. Okay, so now what happens here is it will create a table actually. Okay, and that table will be having the table will be having source IP address. Okay, and source IP address in the sense internal or say real. In many terms, they call it as real IP address. Okay, so what is the real IP address here? It is 10.10.10.10. Okay, then it will be having destination IP address, and that is 8.8.8.8. Right? So when the traffic is like natted, actually, what it will do is it will create just a what we say entry like 10.10.10.10. It is natted to 100.100.100. Just like a one-to-one IP net. Okay, so whenever the traffic is going from 10 to 8.8.8, it will get translated to 100.100.10 and it will hit that destination and return traffic will come like that. This is for one-to-one IP. This part is clear? Okay. So so there are main reasons for using NAT is the basic reason for using NAT is to save public IP address, right? We don't have, if we had a lot of public IP addresses, there is no need, like we can just configure the public IP addresses in our LAN also, right? Okay, but there are limited public IP addresses, so and that is also costly as well. So we have to use it very judiciously. So what we usually do is we do the NAT to save the public IP addresses. This part is clear?
Clear.
Next is to hide the internal IP address. Okay, so that part we have already discussed. Next is establish communication for overlapping subnets. Now, like earlier, we were just one company and in a one country, like a specific site, and it will work as like it will grow and develop and it will become a big company, right? And it will be using a private IP range. Okay, but nowadays a lot of collaborations are happening. So what will happen? This company will acquire a new company. Like we already have acquired 3 companies in last 2 years. Okay, so whenever we acquire the company, that company network will be using an IP address range, and that might be overlapping our IP address range. So in initial stage, if like we will migrate them to our network, will what we say do the standardization, but it will take time, right? So for initially establishing the communication between 2 organizations that are using overlapping subnet, we will use NAT. Okay, like our client. Suppose our client is using 10.10. Like our 10.0.0.0/8, and we are also using that same subnet. Right, so they will definitely say that we cannot use that subnet. Please NAT it to some other IP address. Okay, and then forward it to us. Right, so that is also best practice. This part is clear.
Yes.
Okay. Next is like there are two types of NAT. Like we can different types of NATs are there. We are talking about from 8.4. Okay, from 8.4 version of ASA OS. Okay, now it is 9.x. So we can classify the NAT into two. Okay, one is auto NAT and another one is manual NAT. At auto NAT, manual NAT. Okay, so we'll learn the differences between that. But before that, when it is auto NAT, you have to basic thing is whenever it is auto NAT, it will translate only the source. So if you have to translate only the source, you have to use auto NAT. If we are using auto NAT, only the source is getting NAT. Like you're getting my point, right? Okay, so you have to understand the basic factor. Like whenever you're using manual NAT, we can NAT both source and destination. But whenever you're using auto NAT, only source is getting NAT. Okay, this part is clear.
Yes, all clear.
Next is like NAT itself is like a we can have static NATs. We'll go in detail in this one. We can have dynamic NAT. We can have PAT. The most used NAT type actually, okay, is PAT. And then we can have static PATs. So we can have only 4 types of NAT in auto NAT. Okay, whereas in manual NAT, we can have all the 4 types. Apart from that, we can have 2 more types, that is twice NAT and identity NAT. Okay, so we will go in detail of each of these type of NAT actually, and we will try to configure one or two also in the practical as well. Okay, first of all we'll go through the differences. Okay, so differences is auto NAT is configured under network objects. Okay, so we just configure a network object. Say first of all we configure a network, say object, and we can say what we say network, and then we can just give inside network. Okay, and then we give subnet 10.0.0.0/8. Okay, and inside that object we'll define the NAT. Okay, so NAT is being defined under the network object. Okay, so whenever that is happening, it is auto NAT. Okay, whenever the NAT configuration is done in the global configuration mode. Okay, like okay, so like if you're not able to understand, so we can say object, or you can say inside network. Okay, that 10.10.10.24. Okay, maybe we just give just for analysis. Okay, now we have done this. Now what we have to do, we can define the NAT here itself. NAT inside, outside. Okay, dynamic, source dynamic plus interface. Okay, so if we do like this, it is happening. The NAT we are configuring under the inside network object. Okay, so this is a auto NAT. This part is clear. Okay, whereas if it is manual NAT, how will we configure? We'll configure two, like we can just configure it like this. Same thing. Okay, this is there. Okay, we can what we can do. We'll go to conf t. Okay, and then there itself we'll give in the global configuration we'll give inside side and then object group. What is the object group here? Realize, like, for example. Okay, and then okay, so this is manual NAT. This is auto NAT. This part is clear? This is auto NAT. Okay. As we had already discussed in auto NAT, we are doing only source IP address translation. In manual NAT, we are doing both source and destination IP address. Okay. So auto NAT is all like also called as object NAT. Okay. And manual NAT is always called as like sometimes called as twice NAT also. Always remember that whenever in a NAT, right? If you do a show NAT, there will be, if it is showing under section 1. Okay. If it is, you have got the output of a show NAT, okay, show XLate, and in show XLate it is showing as section 1. Okay. And then it is manual NAT. If it is showing as section 2 in the show XLate, it is auto NAT. This part is clear?
Is clear.
Okay. Next one is in auto NAT, we can use only object. We cannot use network like object group actually. We cannot use object group. We have to use only object. Okay, you remember you learned about this one, right? Earlier we had gone through the object. That is the reason I went through this one. Okay, so we can use only object. Okay, we cannot use network object group in auto NAT. In manual NAT, we can use both object and object group. This part is clear.
Understood.
And next one is in auto NAT, it is easy to configure. Like it is very easy to configure. You just have to define on like you because it is source, only source is getting natted, right? So we know the direction on which it is to be natted. We create a object group and just inside that object group we configure the NAT. Okay. Whereas manual NAT is more flexible. We can try different types of thing actually in manual NAT. We can, as we mentioned, right, overlapping subnets. We can just what we say, NAT the destination also. Okay, so mostly we will use manual NAT actually in our network also. We'll try to use manual NAT. Okay, because it is more flexible. We'll have more control. Okay. Next is it is getting automatically. There is an order because there as in manual NAT and auto NAT we have different types of NAT, right? So there is an order that is there. Okay, so there you saw this 4 types of NAT that is there, right, in auto NAT, and then we have in manual NAT we have 6 types of NAT. So there is an order that has to be like whenever we are implementing these type of NAT, the first NAT that will be passed is identity NAT. So if you give an identity NAT below the PAT, identity NAT will never get executed. Okay, so whenever if you are giving identity NAT, it has to come as first. Okay, if you are giving a static NAT, it has to come after the identity NAT. Okay, it should not come after the PAT. Okay, so these are some things that you have to always understand. Static PAT. Okay, after static NAT, static PAT will be passed. Okay, after static PAT, twice NAT will be passed, and after that dynamic. So because we are doing what we say, we are giving each and every rule like a NAT rule in the global configuration. We have to do the manual. We have to do the ordering. We have to ensure. Sometimes we give a NAT and it is not getting like it is not getting executed. The traffic is not hitting that NAT. Why? Why? Because the NAT rule is wrong. And the NAT order is wrong. Okay, so the NAT order we have to always understand which NAT, like if you are configuring PAT should always come last. Okay, if you add anything, if you add a 1-to-1 NAT after the PAT, it will not get executed. Okay, so in manual NAT, the NAT is like a in manual NAT, the NAT order we have to do manually. Whereas in auto NAT, it will automatically happen. We just configure the the firewall itself will order it. We don't have to go and order it actually. It will automatically order it. in the section 2. Okay. This part is clear?
It is clear.
Yes, boss.
Okay. Next is how do we configure NAT actually? There are a couple of types of like the 6 types of NAT that we have, right? So we have to configure each and every type of NAT actually. This we will go through either what I will do is Alyssa, if you Alex, you are available after couple of hours. I am there till. Okay. So I will just connect with you and see you after some time and we will share the recording with Alex. Okay. So rest 2 slides, right? Like these are the practical slides actually, where we have to do the practicals. Okay. So like static NAT is 1-to-1 IP address. Dynamic NAT is like, again, we have a couple of IP address. We can that one by one. I will tell you each of it, and we will do a practical also. Okay.
All right. Or else we will go through the theory. The practical I will connect with you later actually. Okay. So let's start with static NAT. Static NAT is 1-to-1 NAT. Okay, 1-to-1 NAT means one IP is NATed to one IP, like one destination, like one IP address from the service provider. Okay, so that is 1-to-1 mapping. If the source is converted to one particular IP address, or if we have a server, okay, and all the ports, right? It is not a port specific. The entire IP is converted into one IP address. Okay, so that is called a static NAT. Okay, dynamic NAT is where we have say same thing as static NAT, but what will happen is we will have a pool of IP address, like we have 10 IP address. Okay, so what will happen is the first IP address will come. It will get NATed to say we have 10 public IP address. So once the IP address comes like 1, let me take a pen. 1 will come. It will get NATed to 100.1. 2 will come. It will get NATed to 100.2. Suppose 5 will come. It will NATed to third IP. Like that, first 10, first come first basis basically. First come first serve basis. So first 10 IP address will be given IP address, public IP. 1-to-1 NAT will be happening. After that, if the 11th IP comes, it will not get NATed. Okay. So that is what we call as dynamic NAT. And this is not used much actually. Okay, in checkpoint firewall and all, these are not supported also. So these are not used nowadays. Okay, it is just like a 1-to-1 NAT, but a pool of IP address that is being used. Okay. Next is we will learn about PAT. The PAT is the most used, like as we mentioned at our home, everywhere we are using PAT only. Okay, where many IP addresses are NATed to a single IP address. Okay, so what will happen is it is port based translation. PAT means port address translation. So what is happening here is say the first internal IP address is coming. So what it will do is say 10 dot. If it 10.10.10.10 comes and the source port is say we can say it as 1025. Okay, so it will be in the network address table. It will be put as 100.100.100.100 and with the port number, mostly the same port number. Okay, so all the connections that are coming from this particular source port, it will be converted to this particular source when it goes out actually. Suppose same different like a different IP address is coming. Say 10.10.10.100 is coming. Okay, so what will happen? It will be it is coming from another port. Okay. Say 10, or it is coming from say, any port, it is like any higher port it is coming, because 10 till 1024 it is reserved actually. So it is coming from any other source port. What it will do, and it is going to internet, it will be NATed to 100.100.100. Some other port. You're getting me, right? So what is happening here is the source port is getting NATed actually. Okay, so that is where the connections, number of connections, right? It is based on connection. This particular same IP address. For example, if the same IP address itself, same IP address, what is that? 10.10.10.10. Okay, from a different port. Okay, a different connection is being established. Say it is coming from 1099 port. Okay, so then again it will be translated to 100.100.100 on a different port. Okay, random port. So how many ports are there? You know how many ports are there in like we have 65535 ports total. So this much of connection it can establish. But in this itself, 1024 is used for 1024 is used for as I said, it is reserved actually. The first 1 to 1024 are reserved. So that cannot be used. So it will be minus from this one, and we can at least use say 64,000 approximate 64,000 connections actually with one single IP address. Okay, so if we have an like NAT happening, it with a single IP, it can support up to 64.5 connections. This part is clear. Why we are saying this 64.5K connections?
Yeah, Santosh, it is clear.
Next is static PAT. So it is just like PAT only, but where we are just like it is a unidirectional. What we are doing is, suppose we have a server in DMZ, and what we have to do is we have to do a like same IP address. We have to use for one like port. It has to be used for FTP. We have to use for HTTPS. Okay, so one specific port we have to convert it for like a HTTP. We have to convert for the same like another port for FTP on the same IP address. Okay, so at that time we will use static PAT. So where we are translating the port itself from one port to another port, but it is done statically. You are defining. Okay, so if suppose we have SSH. Okay, SSH is coming to port. What is the port for SSH?
So the port for SSH is 22.
22. So suppose we have a connection coming to 100.100.100.100 on port 22. It has to go to 10.10.10. Or say we can say it is DMZ. Okay, 192.168.1.100. Okay, it has to go to port 443 or some other port 803022 like that. Okay, so we are whenever we are defining statically. Okay, because we have only like we have a couple of IP addresses only, so we have to use that IP addresses judiciously. So what we do is the same IP address we will use for different servers, right? That is one of the reasons of using static PAT. Okay. This part is clear.
Yes, Santosh, it is clear.
What about Alisa? This
Yes,
part is
boss.
clear. Like that we can define, like you can define which port whenever it is hitting this particular public IP on this particular port, what port on the internal IP address it has to convert actually. It has to be translated. because that is called static packet. It is unidirectional. Okay. So these are the 4 types of NAT that can be done using auto NAT. And also we can do the same thing with using manual NAT also. Okay. We'll come here. This is identity NAT. Identity NAT is mainly used for VPN. That will go like after twice NAT. Okay. So twice NAT is conditional NAT. So twice NAT is what it will do is it usually when we do a NAT actually we are translating the source or we are translating the destination, right? SIP source IP address 10.10.10.10 okay is translated to 100.100.100.100.100. Okay, same thing destination IP address. Okay, so if it is the destination is 10.8.8.8. Okay, and what we have to do is whenever the destination is coming as 200.200.200.200. The destination has to be translated to 8.8.8. Okay, so we can translate both source and we can translate the destination. That is one thing. Twice NAT is very flexible. Okay, we can do lot of permutation and combination. Suppose we want we want to translate only when the destination is towards the client. Suppose for example same IP address 10.10.10.10, right? It has to be translated to 100.100.101. Okay, when the destination IP address is 4.4.4. Okay, so if this is the destination, it has to get translated to 101. If this is the destination, it has to get translated to 100, and as well as the destination has to be changed to 8.8. So we have a lot of permutation combination that we can do using twice NAT. It's very flexible. Okay, so this is mainly used for, as we mentioned, it is used for preventing if we have a overlapping subnet, the same subnet we and the client are using, we will use twice NAT. If best practices, like nowadays there is a best practice that we should not advertise our internal network to the client network. So if you see all our VPN, site to site VPN, we are using a public IP range to NAT it, right? So there and all we will be using. This part is clear. Twice NAT is clear.
It is clear.
Yeah, it is a condition. Okay, so if this condition matches, then only it will get NATed or it will not get NAT. Okay, and there is lot like we can do a NAT for source, we can do a NAT for destination. We can NAT the source and destination together actually. Okay, it depends on the requirement that we have. We can use this NAT in different ways. Okay, and this NAT can be used only in manual. You cannot use the NAT in auto NAT. And then last one is identity NAT. Identity NAT is basically we are mainly used for VPN. Okay, so basically whenever the traffic is going to internet, okay, so whenever the traffic is going to internet, it has to get NATed. When it is going to say customer network or one particular VPN or our branch site. Okay, so at branch site we have a VPN, so it should not get NATed, right? So in that case scenarios, what we will do is we will just NAT the internal IP address to the same internal IP. That is called identity NAT. It will just NAT the same to the self only. So that is what we call as identity net. It is mostly used in VPN. Apart from that, it is used for like many of application don't support NAT. In those cases, we have to use identity net. Okay. Those are the main used cases of identity net. But nowadays we don't have to use it. If at all we have VPN, then only this will come into picture. This part is clear.
Yes, boss.
Yeah. Now there is a practical session. So we will have a practical session. Give me another 1 or 2 hours actually. I will something. So we'll connect Alex and Sheila will try to connect, and Alisa will share the recordings with you. Okay. In the NAT theory part, is there any doubt? You understood the NAT difference between auto NAT and
Yes, in the part.
It's clear.
want to do just a simple lab, we can just try it now itself. So if you see here, we have outside, we have inside. Okay. So if we do some config, you can say object network. Okay. Network inside. Net. Net is 192.168.1.0. 1.0. Fifty-five to 55.0. Okay, so we have given the subnet here. Then we'll just create but we don't require so what we'll do is we'll do a for one IP address. Just what do you say? You can just do it like this. It has one IP, just one IP. We don't want to give much actually. So what we'll give is 192.168.1.2. Okay. Now if we want to do a static NAT, 1-to-1 NAT, how will we do it in auto NAT? Okay, this is the auto NAT we have. This traffic is coming from inside to not inside actually, it is coming from. Tell me what is the interface name that we have given? Prod, right? It is coming from prod to outside, right? And we have to do the NAT for source, right? Dynamic interface. Leave it as interface. Okay. So now when we do like this, what will it show? Show. See, it is showing as section 2, right? And it is a static NAT from one IP, like a one single IP address to another single IP. You're getting me, right?
Yes, Santosh.
Okay.
Yes.
So another thing that there are multiple things that we can do in lab actually. One second. So that is one part. Okay, so we can just, if we do we'll come to the inside router. Okay, it is getting connected. Now, if we come to the outside. Cisco, but what you can do is debug. Okay, we are just debugging. Now what we'll try to do is we'll connect from here. What is happening here, if you see, right? The traffic has to come from IP traffic is coming from where actually? Traffic is coming from 100.100.1 actually. You're getting me. It is not coming from 190 to 168. Right? Because it is getting that. So this is the static. This part is clear?
It's clear.
So what this from here? Oh no. Do the same thing from what we have to do is conf t nat outside, right? And we have to give source dynamic. We have to give the source. So source has to be an object or object group. So we'll see, we can give an object or object group here. Object or object group. So what we will give is we will give a object group. Like we have already created an object, right? But you can use an object group also here. And then we can give it as interface. Earlier this option was not there, right? Because we are already the source is mentioned, so we don't have to mention the source. Here, when we are doing manual NAT, we have to mention the source first, and then we have to mention the source has to be NATed to what IP address. What is this? This is happening. This is a many to one. That's it. This is a one to one NAT. Okay, so this is a one to one NAT. So again, are you guys with me? Actually, you are able to understand this till now?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So because it is a static and broad outside, okay, and we can give it as, rather than dynamic, we can give it as static because it is one to one NAT. We can just give it as we'll mention it. Okay. One to one. If you want to do many to one NAT, same thing. What we'll do is this one itself do it in multiple ways. what we can do is we can create for network. Rather than giving interface, we can give here as what is the command that we are giving? We are giving NAT from production to outside. It is a static one-to-one NAT. There is a bidirectional, okay, and it is NATing one-to-one IP. That is from host inside to that public IP. There is some NAT is already there. Okay, that is the interface IP. So we have to give 1 second. So we have already used that same IP address already in the. Tell me where we have used this IP address. What is it? What is the error actually?
Let me see.
It is mentioned that this IP address is already used in the interface. We cannot use that IP address. So we have to use another IP address. Host 100.100.100. Okay. Now, if we try to do NAT again, you can just tell me the command to give the NAT actually. Static NAT. I want to do a static NAT. Alisa, tell me the command. Prod outside
It's
source. We are going to NAT the source, right? And
yeah, sorry.
we are doing a static NAT. Right?
Yeah, correct.
And the inside host, we are going to NAT it to the public IP. One-to-one NAT is done. What is it? This is a section 1. Section 1 is manual NAT. Right? And it is a one-to-one entry. One-to-one entry. Guys, you are with me? You
Yeah.
are able to understand, right? Any doubt till now? Same thing we will do for what we say we can do for dynamic NAT. Okay, so dynamic NAT we can directly do the dynamic NAT for the entire network. Right? So there was an object group that we had created for network actually. Right? For an object. So object was inside. What we can do is now we are going to create a manual NAT for manual dynamic NAT, PAT basically. We are going to create a PAT. Okay, so what we do is anybody can just tell me the rule outside. Same thing source. Absolutely. So static or dynamic?
Be dynamic.
Dynamic. And what we are going to NAT actually? We are going to NAT the entire subnet. Okay. Either we can NAT it to the interface. Okay, or we can NAT it to that public IP. I will NAT it to say we can NAT it to the public IP just to show it to you. Okay, I will remove this command. And I will NAT this to the interface now. Okay. So now it is NATed to the interface. What is happening? Any traffic that is going from currently we have only one NAT. Okay, that is the dynamic pad that we have configured. Right? Now, if I try to do a telnet, will it work? It is working fine. When we come here, it is still showing as IP address 100.100.100. Okay. Okay, so I have netted this particular IP, one more IP address. What I am doing is I am configuring one more static NAT here. So already we have a dynamic NAT, like dynamic PAT is there. Now I am configuring one-to-one NAT. Okay. Side host only for this particular IP address. Static, right? We are doing static, and what we are doing? We are netting it to this IP. So what will happen now? So any traffic that is there from any other IP address in inside network, it will get PAT to outside interface. But the traffic when it is generated from inside host, that is 192.168.1.2, it will get a statically NAT, one-to-one NAT to 100.100, and 100.100 we have already routed to this firewall. Are you clear what I have done? Now, what will happen? Telnet from here, what will be the IP address that will be shown here? Outside? What will be the IP address that will be shown here? It is still showing 100.100.100.1. See, it is still showing 100.100.100. Why? You remember order of NAT? What is the order of NAT?
Arunat, is it?
Yeah. If we are configuring a static NAT, it has to come in top actually. See the NAT here. See, static NAT is below the PAT. Will it work? It work? See, all the hits are going to first two hits. So we have to remove. And we have to configure it as rule number 1. Outside. Okay, we can give number, right? Here, like access list numbers, right? We can give number here. So we will give it as 1. Okay, source, static. So if we do a row NAT now, see. Okay. Now we'll try to, first of all, let's check what is the access list. Okay. And the access list is not required here because it is from inside to outside, from trusted to untrusted. See, it is working fine now. And what is the IP? See 100.100. Guys, you're able to see it, right? Any doubts in this one? It is showing 100.100.100. Now it is getting natted to 100 on 100. So if you do a show nat now, what it will show? It will show a hit here. See, it is showing a hit here, right? Right?
Correct.
We can like there are other things also that we can. If you guys have time, actually. So this we have done static nut. Okay, this part is we have done. Okay, we have done the pat. Okay, dynamic NAT is not used much actually, so that is fine. We can, if you want, we can try to do a static pat also. A static pat is port to port translation. Okay, do you want to do it?
Yeah, we can do it.
Boss,
Yeah.
I might disconnect at any time. We have a electric outage here in our area, and the electric company advised us already. So maybe in 15 to 30 minutes, we will have the power outage. We have a typhoon here, and I'm having a bad connection as well.
Okay, okay. You can drop actually. We just 5 minutes will drop. You can drop anytime. Okay, but you understood the different types of NAT, right, Alyssa? And thank you very
Yeah,
much for joining in this much hardship. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Okay.
thank you, thank you. I'll leave now, boss.
So if you same thing, we will try to do with the static pad. So what we'll do is we will just give it as 302423, and it will be getting converted to 23 port. Second, we have to create object actually. Okay, so we have to create object name. Let's create object first. Service TCP 23 equal to we'll create two object. Okay, same thing we'll use here. One object. Okay.
So we have created two object here. What we are going to do is service. We are going to give. Right. So what is the first rule? First rule is our static pad. This part is static pad. Then we have our static NAT, and then we have our pad. Okay, so we will come here. There is a mistake here. Let's correct it. Destination. Okay. Let's try once more. Okay. Now it is getting. We are doing a telnet to 3023 port, but it is going to 23. Right. So what we are doing? We are
meeting the port 3023. And that is what static pat.
All right.
Okay, and now if you see in the order actually, what is the order of NAT actually? Order of NAT is static pat has to come after the NAT. So if you try to do a normal NAT, normal like that will work, I think, but okay. Usually it has to come in the second in order. It's working. Okay, so now we have done 3 practicals. We have done practical for static pat. We have done practical for what is it? We have done practical for pat and we have done practical for static net. Okay, the same thing can be done inside an object group also. Okay, when we do it inside an object group, it will become AutoNet. And in that case, only the source IP will be translated. Okay. Guys, this part is clear?
It is clear, Santosh.
Is it clear? Okay. Do you want to do a twice NAT?
Yes, if you can.
Let's do a twice NAT. Twice NAT has to come after the NAT. Okay. So we will do a twice NAT now. Okay. What we are going to do is same thing. Show run NAT. Okay. Run object. What we'll do is we'll create one more object. Say object network outside pub IP2. Okay, and this will be host 100.100.100.101. Okay, now what we are going to do is we are going to use a twice NAT here. So what we will do is first of all, let's check what is the NAT here. We can remove all the NAT. Okay, so we have only the pat now. So what we are going to do here is we are going to NAT or outside. Okay, I am not giving usually I have to give here 1. Okay, to make it first, but I am not giving that. What I will give is I will directly go to source. Okay, static. Okay, and what I am going to do is I am going to give it as inside host. Okay, and what is the object group that we created now? IP2. Okay, and destination is okay. Destination is not mentioned. 1 second. We have an option to mention directly. We have to give destination also as an object group. So let's create an object group for destination. Object for destination. Okay.
Understood.
Outside dest. .100.100.2. So our NAT will be NAT dot outside. Okay, I'm not changing the rule number now. Okay, and then we'll give static or static force static. Okay. We are going to convert this particular inside IP address to this IP2. Okay, when destination is, what is the destination? Okay. Destination is this one, 100.2. Okay, this part is clear. So I will give it as this one. Okay, and one more thing I have to do is we have used 100 or 10101. I have to give a static IP address here. Can wait. It out. 100.100.101 255 255 255 255. Routed to next hop IP address of the firewall is 100.100. Okay. Now the outside network knows how to reach me. So we can just try to do a telnet from here. Okay. Telnet is happening, but what is the IP address it is receiving? It is still going, it is still doing the NAT2.1. Okay, why?
Yeah, correct.
PAT is in the last, right? But then also it is going because the order of the NAT. Okay, in manual NAT, we have to, we like the network engineer has to take care of the order of the NAT. Okay, so this has to be changed. And then we have to give again, and we have to give it the rule number as 1. Okay, now I have given like this. Now I will try to do. Telnet is happening fine. Let's try to find what is the IP address. See, 101. You're able to see it, right?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so this is how we have changed. This is a conditional NAT. Okay, again, I can change the, like, there are multiple things we can do. Okay, so what we can do is we can create a destination to store an object. See, it is like we can do multiple things. The only thing is based on the requirement we have to do it. Now, in the same case, we will use NAT destination 2. Okay, and we will mention it as say 103, or we can mention it as 100.100.100.200 destination. So now what I want is whenever from the inside somebody is doing a telnet to 200, okay, the IP address has to change to 101 and the destination has to change to .2. What is .2? .2 is the in this network. This is .2. Okay. So whenever somebody is trying to do a telnet to 100.100.100.200, the destination will convert to, will be natted to 100.2 and the source will be natted to 100.100.100.101. Or we can create a new IP address 105, for example. It has to be natted to 105. So source will also get natted, destination will also get natted. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll come again this one. We'll create one more object group. P3. First of 3 is we can mention this 105. And we have to and 05 also we have routed here. Okay. So the outside network knows how to reach 105. Okay. What we are going to do now is NAT. First of all, let's check what is the NAT tool now. Okay. So we will remove. We can keep this also. That is fine. Okay. We will just make that rule as first one. So NAT. Tell me, prod. You guys guide me on this.
Outside,
Outside. Okay. Source.
source,
We are going to change the source statically from what we are going to change. We are inside host will be changed to what IP address? This one. Are we clear? When is this going to happen? When destination is what? 100.100.100.200.
Yeah.
Okay. And the destination itself will get changed to what?
100 at 100 at 100 at 105. Or something.
So if we now check it out, show NAT. Then we have 3 rules now. Okay. Oh, 1 second. Rule has come as last rule. So let's make this as first rule. I'm just changing the number here. I'm making this as a first rule. Okay. So when I give 1, it is becoming the first rule now. Okay. So what is happening? The inside IP address will be getting converted to 3. Okay. 105. And the destination will be, what is the destination? 100 or 100 or 200. When we are doing a telnet to this one, it will get converted to, what is this actually? Or an object. It will get converted to 100 or 102. Is this part clear?
It is clear.
Okay, so let's try it out. So what we'll do is we'll try to do a telnet to 100 or 100. What was the IP address? 200, right? And what is it getting natted to? It is getting natted to 105. You're able to see it, right?
Yes.
Okay. When we are doing a NAT to, like when we are doing a NAT. But when we are doing a telnet to 100.100.2, to what IP address it is getting NAT? 101. Okay. So this is the beauty of twice NAT.
we have all the flexibility to change the source. We have the flexibility to change the destination, right? So that can be achieved using source net. And these commands, if you learn these commands, right? It's like, see, nowadays we don't have to do using commands. Okay, like we can do it through the front end, but we have to understand the concept. In a static NAT, what is happening? Static NAT is one-to-one NAT. Okay. And what is a PAT? PAT is many to one. And how it is a PAT? PAT means port address translation. Okay, so you have to always understand what is happening in port address fashion. Source port is basically NATed to a converted to a different port actually, right? So how many connections can be there with a single IP address? We can have around 64,000 connections with a PAT, right? Then we have this twice NAT that we have to learn, and then we in cases of like we have like limitation of IP addresses, we use static PAT. Like with one IP address itself, we can NAT different ports, right? So that is called static PAT. These are NAT is very easy to configure, okay, but you have to understand the concept. Without understanding the concept, if you give a wrong command, the entire network will go down. Okay, so NAT, because NAT is done in the edge device, right? So we have to be very, very careful when we are doing the NAT, because if we give a wrong command, then it can take the entire network down. Okay, so this part is clear.
It is clear, Santosh.
Oh, thank you. It was a long session, but hopefully we covered the NAT clearly. Thank you very much. Okay,
Yeah, it was a good
talk to you
session.
later.
Thank you.
Thank you, Santosh.